guys, it's Jerningam here. Chinese has released a video showing the troops carries moving to move to Hong Kong. It couldn't be any more real, guys. What's going on here? So the Chinese are going to Hong Kong, the Chinese state. Well, just a minute, I need to go back on that. This is so quick of showing the Chinese. See, all these troops are coming through here. Don't know what is going on. Chinese have taken an increase about something. If you guys have not seen this video, if you guys are from China and Hong Kong, you probably know about this, what's going on here. I think this is craziness. Is there going to be a war with China and Hong Kong, or the troops just helping out or something? Well, that was a very short video, guys, about that. Couldn't have been any more real. One day ago, Chinese released a video showing the troops carrying to move to Hong Kong. So, like I say, this is 5 hours ago of Hong Kong's violence.
Good morning to you, Sir Malcolm.
Good morning.
Good morning. I mean, a lot of people were very concerned of watching that footage from the protests in the airport. Turned very, very ugly on all sides. Protesters attacking people they believed had been infiltrating them as stooges in the protest.
See how long this is on for.
The riot police go in. We saw snatch.
This is going to be a long video, 22 minutes.
A tweet from Donald Trump yesterday saying that Chinese troops are massing on the border. Some video footage of a whole convoy of trucks on the border in the mainland. Lots of concern now. What are your thoughts in terms of what is likely to happen in the coming days and weeks?
Well, I am deeply concerned, and I have huge admiration for the people of Hong Kong and the way they behaved over the last few months against the extradition bill, which almost up to 2 million Hong Kong people were in the streets and succeeded and were victorious. And the Chinese government had to back down on that particular proposal. Now, that's probably where the demonstrations should have ceased, because they'd had a great victory. What has happened is a significant minority, it is a large number of people, but it's a significant minority of people that continue demonstrations, now effectively attacking the Chinese sovereignty of Hong Kong in various ways, sometimes explicitly in those terms. And that is something the Chinese government can never accept. They've already been humiliated.
It's like tensions with Hong Kong and Chinese military have gone into Hong Kong.
A serious challenge of this kind, when in China itself, in mainland China, of course, the people of China aren't even being informed what is happening. So tight is the internet control, so tight is the control over internet.
Couldn't be any more real, guys.
This is in complete contradiction to the way the rest of China governs itself. So,
this is it. It's whether actually at some point the Chinese authorities will feel that they have to act to send a signal, not just to people of Hong Kong, not just to their own citizens, but to the world, that up with this they will not put.
That's right, but actually it is just as complicated for the Chinese government at this moment as it is for how Hong Kong should react. Because the last thing the Chinese government wants to do, and I'm absolutely certain of this, is to send in the People's Liberation Army to crush Hong Kong, as they did with Tiananmen Square many years ago.
It's like there's going to be a lot, it's like a war. Seems to be like that, guys. I could be wrong, but why would the Chinese military go in convoys and vehicles to Hong Kong?
Hong Kong is millions of people, and although undoubtedly the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, if they went in, would control the territory, they'd be paying a huge price. First of all, you'd probably have civil disobedience of a very, very high order.
I mean, it's been kicking off for Hong Kong for weeks of protesting.
Hong Kong's relationship with China, which is meant to be two systems in one country, and that's not just important for the people of Hong Kong, it is hugely important for them, but also for China's aspirations with regard to Taiwan. The Chinese government have been using Hong Kong for the last 20 years as an example of how you can reunite with China and still keep your own way of life. That would be for the birds if they send the army into Hong Kong.
But in terms of the West's reaction and our duty of care, Tom Tugendhat, who's a Conservative MP and chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, we'll talk to him in an hour's time. He has suggested that we should be offering British passports to every Hong Kong citizen, so they've got safe passage in the event that things go wrong, but also as a signal to the Chinese authorities. Now, I wonder whether you think the Chinese would actually see that as a provocation, a sort of colonial act, rather than sort of an act of peacemaking.
I don't think this is, to be honest, my own personal view, this is not the particular time to be contemplating what you do about passports. I think that the issues are much more fundamental than that. But where Tom Tom Tugendhat is quite right, is to say that not only is there international concern of what might happen, what is happening, but there's a particular British responsibility, because this whole drama results not just from the controversy over the extradition bill, where the Hong Kong people won that battle, but over the various attempts the Chinese government has been making, and not to destroy two systems, to be fair, but to gradually erode it, to limit the freedoms, to limit the independence of Hong Kong, to limit it, and in some areas they've succeeded, in other areas they've failed. And I think the dilemma that has to be realized is the United Kingdom has a particular responsibility because we were one of the treaty signatories. We had no choice about returning Hong Kong. Under the original treaty under which we occupied Hong Kong, it ran out after 100 years.
Yeah.
So that was unmistakable. But the treaty that governs Hong Kong's relationship with China deposited with the United Nations, and the Chinese government themselves say we always scrupulously observe the rules. So my guess is that on a worst scenario, what might happen, that would be bad enough, would be that the Chinese army would go into Hong Kong if these demonstrations continue, but having, as it were, controlled the demonstrations, they will say we are not destroying two systems in one country, and we will return to mainland China as soon as we're satisfied that the place is peaceful again. Now, it won't be as simple as that,
No.
but that's what they'll try and do, I think, if it comes to an intervention.
But in terms of the West's reaction, realistically, we're not sending in the gunships, are they? Neither is the United States. That's not going to happen. The Chinese authorities know that there might be a bit of a wagging finger at the United Nations and some sternly written letters. But realistically, if they do decide to send troops in, if there are mass killings, if there is mass roundup of protesters, people are hauled off to the Chinese mainland and disappear into the prison system there, as it's already been happening, but it's not officially.
Oh, bless me. Sorry about that, guys. I had a bit of a sneeze.
Does that tell us something about our role in the West and the power of the United Nations and indeed the waning power of the West?
No, it's about the real world. There was never going to be any question, however powerful the West is or was, there would never be any question of going to war with China over what happens in Hong Kong, any more than there was a question of going to war with Russia over Crimea. You can't start world wars because of issues of that kind, however serious they are. You can react in other ways, through sanctions, through diplomatic means, through a whole series of ways. But the harsh reality is that Hong Kong is...
So it's kicking off in China and Hong Kong. The UK's got Brexit, as we all know. We should have left on the 31st of October. Then it was the 29th of March. Didn't leave last year with Theresa May. Now we've got Boris Johnson in power. We're supposed to be leaving the 31st of October this year. Brexit in the UK.
Nobody in their wildest dreams or nightmares is contemplating some sort of military reaction by either Britain or by the West. That would be absurd and meaningless.
You've been obviously talking about this on the committee. You've also been tweeting about this, and you've been talking about how one of the solutions is that we need to make it clear that we will basically look after the people of Chinese. And one of the ways you suggested that is that we offer the Hong Kong Chinese basically British passports to protect them. How would that work? 7 million Hong Kong Chinese?
The reality is that this is a law that we changed in 1981. So I'm not seeking to introduce something new, actually. I'm seeking to correct something we got wrong. In 1981, what we did was we removed rights from the Hong Kong Chinese. They had been British overseas territories like anybody in the Virgin Islands or Anguilla or whatever. And so they had the rights to come and live in the United Kingdom. And we invented in 1981 this new category, this sort of second-class British citizenship called British National Overseas. And what that did was it gave you a British passport, but it didn't give you the right to live in the UK, which I have to say is a particularly bizarre idea of citizenship. If you can have the passport and you can have diplomatic representation and various rights of various kinds, but you're not allowed to go to the country, or rather you're not allowed to live in the country that your passport is for. So what I'm seeking to do is to correct that. And the reason to do that is not to intervene in Hong Kong's internal politics, but quite on the contrary, it's to allow people to know with confidence, with certainty, that they are safe, that their rights are guaranteed, that they are respected, and therefore to, in some way, lower the tension in in Hong Kong. Because in Hong Kong, what we're seeing is a lot of people who are quite understandably extremely nervous that their city is changing and changing very fast, and is going from being in many ways what it was, a sort of free city-state, if you like, not an independent state, but a free city-state, to coming under greater and greater Chinese control. And this came out recently when Carrie Lam, the chief executive, tried to introduce a new extradition bill, and people got very afraid they were going to be deported to mainland China for minor crimes. And this led a lot of people to be increasingly concerned. So what I'm seeking to do is to right a wrong that Britain made nearly, 30, 40 years ago, but also to give confidence to the people of Hong Kong that their rights are respected.
I wonder, though, whether actually the Chinese would respect that status. That's the question. On Monday, 2 Chinese state media outlets ran video footage showing armoured personnel and troop carriers, a huge line of them, reportedly driving to Shenzhen, which borders Hong Kong. Massive concerns about military intervention. Of course, Donald Trump yesterday tweeting that China was moving troops to the border. I don't know whether he just seen it on Fox News or not, but or actually got the actual information from his security advisors. But there are big concerns that at some point the Chinese authorities are going to run out of patience. This is the sort of level of protest that would have been way beyond acceptable to the Chinese authorities if it was carried out by dissidents on the Chinese mainland. There's no doubt at all. We know that they've not just this extradition bill that Carrie Lam was brought in. That wasn't her doing. That's what the Chinese authorities wanted. We know that actually there are secret renditions that are happening anyway. Basically, people are just disappear into the Chinese prison system and never to be heard of again. But we saw yesterday the police going into Hong Kong airport. By all accounts, according to the reporters, they looked like they were snatch squads. They were deliberately appeared targeting specific protesters and dragging them away. There've got to be fears for those people's safety and their future freedoms. The reality is that China doesn't operate by the same rules as the rest of us. If China decides to send in the military, we're not going to do anything. And a little bit of a wagging finger from the United Nations or from the British authorities and the waving around of passports isn't going to make a blind bit of difference to the safety of the people of Hong Kong.
Well, it's not going to stop the Chinese treating Chinese citizens as they want to. That's quite right. And we've seen this, by the way, when they've arrested dual nationals. There's a dual national a dual national Chinese Canadian citizen who's in prison in China. His Canadian citizenship has no protection. There's other dual nationals in mainland China who've been arrested, and whatever their second nationality is, absolutely no protection. That's, by the way, that's pretty normal. I mean, the Iranians do the same, but actually so does almost any other country. If you're a citizen in that country, you come under the rules of that country and you don't get the protection of whatever second nationality you may or may not hold. So that's not surprising. And I'm not seeking to tell the Chinese government how they can behave in their own country. And we've got to recognise Hong Kong is a separate part of China, but it is a part of China. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to diffuse tension amongst the Hong Kong population, because in Hong Kong itself there's a lot of feeling, and I've spoken to a lot of friends in Hong Kong over the recent weeks, as you can imagine, and members of the Legislative Council, the Hong Kong semi-parliament, and I've spoken to them about what's driving this. A lot of this is to do with fear. As you can imagine, people are afraid that they have lost control of their city, that they are being boxed into a corner, that they're losing rights that they won't be able to get back. And so one of the things this does, it doesn't do it it doesn't impose rights on Hong Kong, and it doesn't threaten gunboats or do anything silly like that. It just says to the Hong Kong Chinese, look, the tension that is mounting at the moment can be diffused. You do have rights. They are guaranteed. They're guaranteed by an independent country, in this case the United Kingdom, and we think that the rights that we took away from you in 1981 should not have been removed from you, and by giving them back, we're saying you do have an emergency exit if you need it, so you don't need to protest in this way now. You can use political means, and that, I think, is the correct answer for everybody. The truth is, the situation in Hong Kong is a political problem, and I'm afraid I disagree with you on this, Julio. Carrie Lam introduced the extradition bill on her own. She did it because of pressure from Macau, bizarrely, not because of pressure from Beijing. And I think the Beijing government was as surprised as anybody when she did it, that she assured them she could do it smoothly and easily, and they believed her. And it appears she was wrong.
So backfired. Do you think, just finally, do you think that these protests aren't going to end until Carrie Lam is ousted, or given that she's basically, for all intents and purposes, a puppet of the Chinese? I mean, she's elected, but from an approved list. That realistically, if she goes, it's just going to be someone else who's still going to do the Chinese bidding.
Well, quite clear that the Chinese Communist Party has control of the political process in Hong Kong. That's not that's not a surprise, I'm afraid, and that has been the case since reunification in 1997. So that's not something I think that we can reasonably look to change. That's something for the people of Hong Kong and China to change if they choose to do so. That's not pressure that we should be putting on the Hong Kong or Chinese people. But I think what we can do is we can look at ways of supporting the Hong Kong government, and we can look at ways of making sure that China realizes that this is a hugely important matter to the world. And that's why I'm also urging partners around the world, and I've written various my opposite numbers in jurisdictions, the usual places you would expect, to encourage them to recognize that things like the Sino-British Declaration of 1984, which is the treaty that underwrites the so-called Basic Law, the Constitution of China, the Constitution of Hong Kong, will be guaranteed, and that's
The guy speaking on the video keeps getting things wrong all the time. He keeps correcting himself. And he's talking to this woman on here on the news channel.
Good morning, I think a lot of us watching these protests over the last few weeks have been, for me certainly, I'm in awe of the bravery and the courage of these people taking, some of them, their lives in their hands, risking demonstrating, knowing that the Chinese authorities at any point could take them away. We saw these protests, 2 million people at one point one Sunday on the streets in a very peaceful protest demanding this end of this extradition bill and Carrie Lam to stand down. And it's just a population of 7 million. Now we are seeing increasingly violent conflict between the police and the protesters. Some very nasty scenes of violence from some of the protesters, actually, against people they believe to be infiltrators in their midst yesterday. Where do you think this is going to go? Is there going to be a diplomatic end to this, or do you think this will end with some sort of military intervention by the Chinese?
Well, Julia, I think we've seen things calm down a bit today. I think the violence yesterday shocked everyone, including the protesters, and they are wary of being painted as violent criminals and rioters. That's the impression you would have got of them from the start if you were watching Chinese state media, where you haven't seen the peaceful protest of the 2 million coming out. You've only seen the violence. But what they are also seeing in Hong Kong is footage of that military build-up on the other side of the border, which I think at this stage is an attempt to frighten them, to scare them off the streets, but also to be prepared should that eventuality come. It's very, very high risk for Beijing, though, this. I think that they are actually in a bit of a spot. I don't think the Chinese want to be seen to give in to protest, and therefore that extradition bill that kicked this all off remains on the shelf. It's not actually being dispensed with, which is one of the protesters' demands. And that is because Beijing don't want to send a message to the greater Chinese population that going out on the streets work.
Yeah, this is the thing. As much as the main Chinese population actually even knows about this, given how much their censorship there is, but I'm assuming a word will have got around somehow.
They are getting, as I say, they're getting pictures of the violence now. They're getting pictures of the military build-up. So they're getting a very edited version of what's happening. And what they're hearing is that Hong Kong is under threat from terrorists and the black hand of the US, who they say are behind rioters. But for Beijing to actually send troops in I wrote today in the Times that it did seem unimaginable. It's no longer unimaginable, but it's incredibly high risk, because everything that makes Hong Kong special and prosperous and useful to China is at risk if they do that.
And this is the thing, this is such an economic powerhouse, and there's no doubt at all there'll be some pressure from some of those major businesses and banks based in Hong Kong for the authorities to clamp down on this. But of course, you say I cannot see a scenario where the China can back down, and the Hong Kong authorities can back down enough that is going to satisfy the protesters. Now, is there also any evidence that actually that there is as the protests have got more violent, say some of the footage we saw in the airport yesterday was very disturbing. Nothing like the level of violence we're seeing from the snatch squads and the police going in just indiscriminately beating protesters, some of whom were perfectly peaceful. However, is there a feeling of a tide turning among the general population of Hong Kong, who peaceful population there, who are disturbed at the fact that these protests that were very civilized, very calm, people walking calmly on Sunday afternoons along the street. Very different from what we're seeing now with the airport being taken over and all of this turmoil.
I think there's definitely a large section of the Hong Kong population that feel that way, are afraid, or do not want to see this as the face of Hong Kong. And I think that there's also a large section that feels sympathy. And there are also, many stories going around in a febrile atmosphere that this violence is being concocted to discredit the protesters. But as you say, the protesters' demands now have gone way beyond even the rights that they have had since the handover from Britain. It's not a democracy in Hong Kong, and that's what they're asking for. So it's impossible to see how China would give them even greater rights than they had at handover. So at some stage this has to come to a head because those demands are not going to be met.
And of course, Tom Tugendhat, we spoke to him a little bit earlier, he's chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee. He's talked about how we need to restore the original rights that were there in 1997 for, until 1981, apologies, where the Hong Kong citizens had a right to a British passport. Now they've got sort of this overseas status, some of them, where they don't actually have the right to
Woman got it wrong there as well.
But he wants to sort of restore that right now. Look, no one's talking about 7 million Hong Kong Chinese wanting to come and move to the UK or being able to if they wanted to. But would that send a message at least that Britain is serious and is involved? Or would the Chinese, frankly, think that that is a rather provocative move?
Well, I think it would do both. It would send a message to China that they would regard as extremely provocative. And for that reason, I absolutely do not see it happening. Nor is there any risk that the population of Hong Kong would be likely to want to come and live in Britain. They actually have, I think, probably a higher chance of living a lot of them than they would do. But no, it would send an incredibly provocative message, and I don't see it happening. We're at a time where we are trying to cultivate the Chinese, not confront them. And also, our China policy, frankly, is in flux as we wait to see how our relationship with the US pans out.
Well, yes, and again, also, look, if we're not in a military position to take on the Iranians, we're certainly not in a position to take on the Chinese. Everyone knows there's not going to be a military battle, but an economic battle it could be a possibility. We've seen all these ongoing sort of economic wranglings going on between the United States and China. But the reality is, again, the economic, not just military, but economic powerhouse that is China is such a big factor in all of this, isn't it? Which is that people don't want to take on a state which is so economically and militarily powerful as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen President Trump do that, and I think the US is probably the only country that could take it on. The US and the EU are the only comparable economic powers compared to China. But even he's backed down yesterday on tariffs that he was planning to impose because he's seen the impact on the market from having put tariffs on previously. So yes, states are constrained in the way that they can treat China because of its impact on the global economy.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely fascinating to see what's happening. I say my heart goes out to people of Hong Kong. When I'm watching that footage, I'm just sitting there thinking, you're so brave and so courageous, but I cannot believe it's going to end well. Catherine Felber, diplomatic correspondent at the Times. Again, we're talking about people probing Parliament and turning into a tin pot dictatorship and the likes of Boris Johnson and Dominic Cummings being criticised by Philip Hammond and John Bercow. Reality is, we are so lucky. We should appreciate every single day that we do live in a democracy. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it, 3.5 years on from a Brexit referendum, but we do live in a peaceful democracy, and my God, we need to fight to maintain that. It's so important. If what's happening in Hong Kong and so many other places around the world doesn't teach us that, I don't know what does.
Well, as one would say to me, like I say, guys, I hope you've all enjoyed this video. I know it's 24 minutes long. It will talk about the Hong Kong protesting and Chinese military going in. Thank you for joining this stream, and I'll do another stream later. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share these videos with your friends. Catch you in the next stream, guys. Peace.